I absolutely can.
SHUN@gmail.com. Sorry, I had to wait.
Is the recording already, or do I need to do that? Okay, thank you.
312.
Thank you for
Yeah. Hey, get all of these cards on the 20th.
I already did that.
Okay.
You said all of these are spent with. Did you do that one today? Is that best? Alright, I can send it if everyone's ready to get started. Yeah. Alright, send it. Did anyone not get it? Alright, is anyone already? Alright, I'm sorry, 2 seconds. Okay, whenever Tim's good, I'm good.
I'm good.
Advantage 1, gender violence. Scenario 1, domestic violence. The recent justice ruling make victims of domestic violence ineligible for asylum and reinforces a public-private dichotomy benediction 18. Session made impossible for science to begin intersection decision reversing immigration appeals court. They ran and stopped her and one who said she had been abused. She no turns to the president that more when who claims she was domestic immigration court not done justice department. He has to order of her. Their decision shall be at a time when domestic violence was considered a private matter, and we have a moral obligation to provide asylum to victims of domestic violence, denying access to the precedent with global implications for 18. Countries will reconsider the responsibility of U.S. rule of asylum victims of domestic violence ruling global repercussions of U.S. spending against our world legal refugee. Recently, immigration lawyers that willing to divide tens of thousands of asylum claim violence against women one of widespread human rights violations, and domestic abuse as a form of gendered violence with devastating consequences, part of 17. Countless women who seem to be violence at home and facing on short journey, finding home safety, warns from domestic violence, perpetuated by men and victims of women and girls unable to help create into murder, gender violence to occur, perpetuated by government actions to abuse, sexual, physical, mental, home, violence, experience, physical, and sociological effects, and congressional action is necessary to reverse the AG's decision or better local gun focus in 18. The decision one that will come from congressional legislation and ruling blocks the pathway to safety of domestic violence victims that undermines U.S. reputation one of the few weak in the whole and the leading in the world by party congressional action that's really needed now, and amending the definition of a particular social group creates consistency and uniformity level 15. Amending the idea of right increase surrounding the definition of a particular social group, amending the language without the inconsistent project currently utilized by the courts amendment would have the added benefit of being uniformly set aside law. Scenario 2, honor killings. Thousands of honor killings occur annually. That perpetuates the notion that women are property, which is part of the parcel with the patriarchy, Marlowe 2. Thousands of women murdered by famous in the name of honor, murders, honor, reported honor killings and countries where concept of women as ancestral families be dominated by the state to be regarded as a part of the family against violence of 50,000 died by alien because of honor killings, dowry death, project, pattern of similar dynamics when we're killed by female family members and crimes are exiles of world complicity to change the concept of women as property, and honor killings can and should be classified as a unique form of gender-based violence that justifies the asylum claim, Code 1. Asylum grounds to force their return to the charge of honor killings for being dishonor upon our husband, divorce and abandoning would be gone for honor killing. We would not for far less. For example, asylum application based on honor killings, domestic abuse application, and their prosecution have a justifiable fear social group of women failing to conform to social norms, and establishing gender as a particular social group case is critical to protect asylum fleeing and honor killings chase 15. Honor killings are again in based form prosecution by AES and another precedent system related to these type of claims to be AES requirements that particular social group military characteristics as requirements that are clear best for who is not include honor killings and clearly immutable characteristics or the major facilities relocated may offer no real protection and group satisfies regularity honor killings certified who must be targeted as change and given a society distinguished violence to make shape upon our family some application to fear honor killings cannot be denied the best not been included on term honor killings the definition of self-definition not include actual honor killings the type of persecution that applies to the results of membership in the group. Scenario 3, international mauling assessment decision invalidates thousands of cases and legitimizes domestic violence as a private matter. The act protection of women is key to bring the U.S. into compliance with UN Refugee Convention 1118. Do you not need to give a recognition that invasion of violence is not a private decision, a grim conflict decision could value 10,000 pending those times you claim to reject the idea that domestic violence against women was prosecuted group family gender violence is private and misdemeanor free possession of women is property under the UN Refugee Convention prosecution and crimes against women because of gender-based violence or criteria for asylum found that the Department is not then cruel interpretation and ability to make a ruling people out of asylum law under review America and reaffirming the United States commitment to fighting gender violence spills over to international policy 114. The United States has made a commitment to protecting people from human rights violations while it will never be fully symbolically recognition of domestic violence based on simultaneous reforms countries committed to stopping human rights violations. Symbolic statement of domestic violence favoring and policy changes on the country's international recognition of refugees and violations created reason reduction of practices countries associated with little protectively promoted by greater action if they see the United States. And establishing gender as a particular social group solves the largest barrier to asylum, fleeing domestic violence, honor killings, FMG, and more. It's key to U.S. compliance with UN Refugee Convention relating to status of refugees, Bill 13. Women are to the hands of family members, these are entitled to know when our own bodies, women abuse are avoid shame and U.S. asylum policies about how well funded individual fears in the male-female asylum seekers that make it not gender-based violence. They must prove that in face of action in the account of membership of a social group, gender, absence from Melissa, and asylum claims are analyzed of political opinion, social or religious prosecution, and BIA should deny the asylum holding that she had failed to establish her membership in a social group and provide sufficient evidence that her husband abused her because of political opinion, membership regulation on considered rights applicants, protect the right to be prosecuted, motives, often overlooked the regulation allowing applicants to pay pattern or practice of prosecution as long as beloved individualized prosecution with regulations solely the applicants seek and need to seek out every woman facing a major honor crimes like to have evidence beyond the word of BIA recognize that female male generally male with generation ever prosecution decision and non-binding IN as a domestic abuse society is required by obligation as signatory of United Nations Convention relating to status of refugee, and the plan would bring the U.S. in line with international law and create a remedy for women fleeing domestic violence. Verse 13. Restructuring the incentives of social group to include gender-based prosecution for asylum will give women protection, bring the U.S. asylum law closer to international standards of reinterpretation and necessary remedy that are be to member women and asylum law by restructuring membership will include gender women can find the right place in U.S. asylum proceedings. Planned the United States federal government should expand the definition of a particular social group to include gender for the purpose of determining eligibility for asylum framing. Magnitude does not weigh the negative resilience on prosecution principles, skewed decision-making, increases the risk of extreme impact to human aid. United States Force investigated for the world is confronted by the security because of the vast long time that don't like the fact that most things go probable cause the exaggerate structures from probable data the principal phase from knowledge that cannot deal with one is only effort to head off particularly danger away from other programs that actually prevent one need to create one. There to be evaluated cost benefit analysis and inherently uncertainty needed to be made by some criteria and other than the risk criteria will be private political preference prosecution reaching high political motivations and voting negative is a trivialization of domestic violence that contributes to the silencing of women globally and all forward. One public against political signs the economy of the public versus private violence against women is the one that have kept out of the public at this and delayed public officials trying to be in terms of silencing have step back to the democratization as well as military but the sort of electoral system or democratization like to be subverted gender-based violence can be a thing that involves trivialization can be accompanied by consideration not one for global disability or attention on domestic violence when there are forces like reforms like global competition sexual adjustment new testing and that those type of relations of violence against women and failure to forefront gendered violence constitutes an objection or responsibility striving to ignite. There's no such low level, death level, humanitarian level degradation that I'm here saying when they rape is not the problem that men say I've got to put my energies into stopping the war, environmental destruction, the same male pattern of violence involving power and control of military and international violation of individual women by individual men, and addressing domestic violence outweighs in the prerequisites to prevention war, Article 7. Number one, that many partners in the last 11 years, the U.S. soldiers killed in the Vietnam adolescents and the home base of violence recruited to weakening abusive relationship and touch the clothes of father, and mother, is the strongest good factor to transmitting violence, behavior, domestic violence, being overlooked, respecting human, outwardly demanding issues such as war, terrorism, violence at home, and peace, for culture, and non-violence can be achieved, and anti-patriarchal activism should pragmatically engage laws that are particularly tactic for by feminist judicial theories. This recognizes that law can be a tool on a case-by-case basis, 714. Feminist scholars and activists have the responsibility to give laws for equal law and sufficiently use the logic to bill baseball general characteristics and legal engagement overly the law possibilities being outside the system as a strategy of no resistance, no open pessimistic dismissed as significant in the case of the danger of feminists, understanding the role of political judicial theories, purchase of servers from feminists to evaluate the merits of legal and defender on a case-by-case basis. Feminists are not related to the attempt to reconstruct the law. There are pragmatic reasons that rather than remaining silent in oppositional stance. And discussions of domestic violence is missing from debates on immigration restriction. We have an obligation to address it within this round 915. Gender is missing from debates around immigration restriction and immigration rights organizations around the world have increasing amounts of gender-based violence and form for prosecution and actual grant. Let's not claim that asylum seekers try to prove their credibility that vision hearing and different types of good that judges that gender-based violence is not a personal approach to public constitutional prosecution. There's a policy and immigration restriction is missing from category of gender, and the center in discussions about immigration or anti-climatic reform for women is key for women to engage in politics that advocate for themselves. J. Paul 13. Immigration policies about women choosing to immigrate or women and children how to perform their sexual marriage and to see hearing the woman was the first time immigrated. Policy based on the right women should be there's a woman who started out with mixed vision and immigration possibly a woman's voice more related to the church. Women's groups should make a more clear feminist argument for immigration and the vote of women has voters to speak up. We need a strong woman to move here, going to be strike forward. We need to expand the idea of in countries that live in immigration reform laws willing to build relations without moves becomes most of I didn't get to the pain card.
Alright. You good?
Yep.
Alright. the third scenario, why do other countries care what the U.S. does?
Yeah, so the Hertz evidence indicates that when the U.S. has historically done plans to promote human rights, other countries have followed on.
What does that look like in the era of Trump? Did they follow on to all of Trump's policies currently?
That's not what we're saying.
Yeah,
We
what
don't
constitutes HR, though?
First of all, we don't think Trump has done anything positive for human rights.
Does it
in
have to
his
be positive?
administration. Second, what?
Does it? What constitutes positive?
Like, all of his actions have been negative. He hasn't taken a lot of
No.
He literally hasn't taken policy action that affects international human rights.
Why does the AF affect international human rights?
Well, it deals with
It's
international immigration.
Okay,
It's
so
not the context
does anything that
whether
Trump
the
does,
US
hang on, does anything that Trump does that would like change international law or affect international law, like trigger this modeling impact?
If there's not a specific impact to modeling because it's not an HR credibility argument.
No, I
He's talking
understand.
about whether people model the U.S. on the context of gender-based violence.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
okay, whatever.
Historically, that's true. It doesn't give Trump more credibility. It's just a question of, like, the U.S.'s
Okay.
people are generally looking to the U.S.
What makes the U.S. a preferable location than their home for victims of domestic
First,
violence?
there's two things. First, it's not a question of whether or not they're preferable. There's a question of whether or not they have to come here in the first place. People are trapped in detention facilities now, which means that they have no other option to go.
Wait,
And
domestic,
even if it's true
hang on,
that it's not
domestic
preferable,
detention facilities?
Maybe KJ has another.
Yeah,
better
so when
description
you're
of
an
that.
asylee
Yeah.
coming to the United States, you are stuck in a detention center until you can get your case tried in front
Yeah,
of
I
an
understand
immigration
that.
judge. So they are trapped in detention.
Where's the after to change that?
It makes it so that when they go in front of the asylum judge, they get approved because there are grounds at which they can get approved.
Okay, I guess my question still stands. What makes the U.S. better than their home
It's
country?
not a question of which country is preferable, it's whether they literally get deported if they're trapped in detention.
Okay, so the only AF's impact is the people that are already in the U.S.
No, that's not true. It's a question of,
Yeah,
for
so
one, we say the U.S. is more of a legal entity, so we'd say even though they're in detention, they haven't legally immigrated to the United States.
I'm not asking T questions. I'm really
No,
asking
I know,
about what
but
the AF
what we're
does.
saying is the act does not only affect people in the United States. We're saying that there's a major solvency deficit to any sort of international argument you could bring up, is that people are trapped in detention centers, and if we don't do the plan specifically, they're stuck in detention centers, and then they're deported when their case
Okay,
is not
I get that.
approved.
The framing contention, what is anti-patriarchal activism?
Yeah, so the Enloe, I think, or the Samuels evidence indicates that anti-patriarchal activism would be activism that goes against the patriarchy.
Okay, well, that doesn't really answer my question. How is
What
that
is
the AF?
Oh, how does the AF do that?
Yeah, how is that the AF?
Yeah, so anti-patriarchal activism in the context of two things. First, it would be a decision that overturns a patriarchal act, thus anti-patriarchal
Okay.
resistance.
I don't think so. Everyone's ready for an order.
Yes.
It's going to be 5 off. Screaming. And the advantage.
That's correct.
That's prevalent, right?
Alright, definitely. Okay. Is everybody ready? Cool. First, is T, legal immigration is persons admitted for lawful permanent residence that's staying. 4, legal immigration is defined as persons lawfully admitted for permanent residence. The Immigration Act establishes limits for 3 classes, families, body preferences, employment-based preferences, and diversity immigration. Not other immigration is defined as the flow of persons who do not meet the above definition of legal immigration, includes unmarried persons not taking permanent residence. Now, there's legal consensus that adjustment of status is not admission. That's detaining and hassle to all the boards and consensus have held that the admission requires physical entry after inspection, non-enjoyment term admission, preserving the alien which would be standard and adjustment status shall be a violation of the act applies to temporary migration. Asylum is temporary migration for prefer first is limits. They justify modifying tiny programs that allow immigration for short periods of time that decimates. They grant a class. Second is legal precision. We set legal definitions defining the term. Legal immigration, legal precision is a key internal to a real-world application. Second is the counterfeit. The government of Canada should include gender for the purpose of determining eligibility for asylum in Canada and should waive all immigration requirements for applicants within that group. Now, immigrating to Canada is better than Peñalosa, and from that 17 Canadian immigration is crucial economics, is Canadian, no rest of Canadian immigrant, native, and multicultural character, provides about the 7 of Canada, reform immigration, some Canadian successively US citizen, factor good like American immigration, has been a flexible. Third is the disact criminal justice reform will pass in the lame duck and GOP unity. It's key to ensure the bipartisan coalition hold its Bolton. 7-11 McConnell would put criminal justice reform on legislation on the floor in the lame duck hole. Take a look at will find no address if it's not priority question from Signaling Gibson. Also, what the Congress email with Republicans, McConnell's never been a big family was, who has a supports a major factor passing, but with the combines together now it's ICE versus Inc and the GOP increase legal immigration, splits the GOP that's Thompson 2-2. There's no immigration question, most of it is done to distant negotiation issue, specifically one of the most important immigration question, more clearly divides Republicans from one another, immigration that's Republicans on the one side of the island, strictness native in the north, teachers on the other side of the party spies, reliably go immigration, no classes, and between the Republican party should be summarized as nice. First thing that the book was the 20 minutes, it was fact that the butter deep is not political right now. Action on over-incarceration is a strong signal of the U.S.'s commitment to human rights. That's UNHCHR 15. State dependent upon one of the core human rights, one, the right and liberty is necessary to state, for central responsibility of the overuse of data, infrastructure, space, reservations, and serious application on human rights, states, taking to fulfill the rights of those who detained are other significant factors that food does over-incarcerate and ensure that they comply with their international obligation on human rights, claims solves global war that's per flight. 4, promotion of human rights should be prominently in U.S. foreign policy steps and correlation between human rights and their governments to engage in aggressive conduct to states and abuse HR, or most likely engage in question of improvements that the likelihood of war to address the static human rights abusing states of the WMD. Now, 4th is the disatt immigration is the most important issue in the midterm of the plan, flip the narrative to favor the GOP that's still all 620. When it's the issue for the midterms of the further on the move the White House and thinking it was immigration policy focus on the midterms on immigration going to hurt the current administration policy doesn't even appeal to the base bill. Good entire born Democrat comes out of the White House, but these immigration is what you turn out to make Democratic case and will be stuff like dealing with immigration and extremely unpopular GOP base isn't that sense the Democratic one that there is immigration that gives you 5 reference more fighting immigration could help to know a Democratic wave de-legitimizes Trumpian populism globally and shores up the liberal order, the spooky Gamma 17 populist party, so that's all that not mind the liberal order. I love it was all what happened in the US American powers, critical theories, with the liberals in favor of national trust attacks on institution of autonomy, modest success, he looks like a weak and back rise, the Republicans with steroids to step back in the metro front menu. Good out of the flip of this, there's not a hundred polarization will deepen into junior tech experience, significant damage to the popular search to play itself out now. Discrediting Trumpian populism is key to avoid extinction. This to all. 16. Trump was way up to the fact that they may do better for populism to fail by economic financial crisis led the global plan and we are unaffecting the liberal PC data, liberalism and bold middle powers of revenge, power team, military action, mutual powers, better than one nuclear weapons, general rules, conflict, destabilizing micro-power democracies, results of one democracy, trade war, territory, disputes, regional democracies, and nuclear power fifth is the K, the one-seat majoritarian position of political inclusion, uses the fantasy of rights protections to draw migrant bodies into a system of governmentality in which they will always be understood as minorities rendered as passive objects of privilege. Governmental decision-making is false promise the one-seat becomes subsumed in the larger project of converting emancipatory politics into simply another excuse for better policing this Tiziano's at all. 8. Anybody escape the wearers go off to the west, and then every time people in another direction, appropriating the existence and so on, and the mode of capture purpose is applied. But solid power that term immigrants serve to expel any more political living today than residents from the work with political form, identity other, municipalities also the identification with, the regions people worker, or proletarian as an object of declare wrong markets are right visible and cannibal policing principle, from action the egalitarian principle, told that all should be able to pay back some, the egalitarian principle that cannot transfer that people's capacity, or perceived as an equal being, including the base of the egalitarian principle rather than what one can or conduct any perceived lack of capacity, equal equality, is a mode of inclusion which great social minorities with the promise of migrants can in fact become majoritarians of change politics, or policing the realm of normalizing functions of including corruption or acting the act perpetuates an innocence complex that allows American death dealing to go about unchallenged. That's Paul 15. America has been a feature of reducing innocent domination, killing and unfortunate acts in American domination since the removal, legislating the conquest of the world, despite rhetoric of sacrifice, the good war, the cold war, American against world, shrouded sacrifice, and Americans have always been presented as successful necessity in American empire, operates at the global regime, thanks to corporate power, the false state of essence, is the political warfare player, terms, selflessness, and dominance by promising fate, and indigenous peoples, and state from murder, the discourse of execution will mean superficial, the inherent desire for violence of the knowledge of rhetoric of innocence and brutal, and escalating system. Now, the alternative is the autonomy of migration, a method of subject building that defies liberal regimes of control and national logic of permanence are autonomous approach to migratory politics. Let's descript on the state's violent attempts to regulate immigration, allow us to analyze mobility, and the method to confront sovereign control the test. 17, autonomy of migration approach allows for new perspectives, migration as a woman making practice and active transformation, migration is not a relocation, but active transformation, social space by the autonomy of migration approach, organization, the board and sovereignty, borders, environment models of structure, and we can centralize the borders and face state negotiations, wrong, and sometimes the makes a big difference of the existing, conservative support attack, centralize the borders also result in multiplicity, and as policies keep trying to draw border being less, even that representation capacity is massive, and they say, will free is stronger migration starts to become a method of a way of resistance to the criticism of the hegemonic mode, it is the order of knowledge. Now, their use of international law as justification for course connects to violent imperialist development projects that may center according to Clinton women who business and all useful and policy that the Hillary Clinton family outside as USA, women in the subjugation of women is that the common security of our world and the national security of our country that has doctrine that violence against women is violence, security, instability, conflict related to gender inequality, security, argument, petition, negative attitudes about the U.S. will be sent to uniform relations, violence, kill women, presented as a generous to be tackled by future development, security, directly wealthy, like all in the held doctrine, several times, they just supposedly similar vote, community the urgency of any violence against women as a nation, to protect U.S. protection of violence against women, being practical, or in terms of something federal, security, studies, feminine safety, your literature, by the Hillary, like, by one last that way, the women's security nexus, I ran my walk, for human rights, violence, integrating U.S. foreign policy, and global violence against women, and by secure life, strict and intervention, and the same organization, inherently violent, criminalization of all, informs the Here's the Baba, those actually protect women's emergency around of all resolving conduct was responsible for further expanding the more suitable violence and body interpersonal violence. The Bureau of Violence to be this group of violence somehow illustrating the wisdom with the hour embedded within the development of insecurity news. Freedom. Tim will sum it up. Yes. Saving the greatest number of lives should be your first ethical priority. This committee 96 city versus Canada wait long one this is not that fight. He has a lot of creativity to student outlay. He just said good reason saves men can counterplans an alternative obvious their framing. They can't falsify your intention to increase we're focused on solving domestic violence. Better on solving the deficit filter probability. You should hold the act responsible for solving that violence. Now extinction should come first. Existential risk require a unique risk calculus as testosterone. 13 extinction risk on our estimated existential risk dedication maybe a more priority to the elation. But nothing on human life is human life future generation matter of according to the numbers and existential medication on the fire humility. Because there's so many people coming to make this very small but I think the probability realizing this is almost good. Will outweigh an ethical policy making or cause a calculation of consequences that's positive. Furthermore, like a positive by result of effective policy making consequences is more to minimize harm and reduce result of with the half words matter more like use it is less with body of lobby right now. Whether the settlement was close to the one can have no moral gun. Now patriarchy doesn't cause war there evidence. Can explain variations in the epic of conflict that's leading. Then the fact that he's more common than more makes it more difficult to argue that patriarchy does one more occur from a thinking political sense about the outbreak of war, gender, system, and patriarchal structures, the concept, consequence, can have the same variations of war and peace. The advantage. All the cause and turn language in what? The act fails and escalates ethnic tensions at skeleton. 18 mass migration singular challenge 21st century. The primary and some effect will be search capitalism and mass migration liberal Western powers for Western countries could see the country. Centuries also change powers that open for philosophy doesn't have for human nature, fundamental human, which is also intentionally potential for endless factions of political trouble, capitalism here to evolutionary adaptive conceptism overcome. Community by exploiting cooperative group and adaptive regions, no more polarities. Really, Westerners have a passion belief in never the elite have got along that tree. The worst of misunderstanding over the Western life and group of the behaviors and hasn't come along because they're all saying there's not only accepted that the diverse aesthetic gun following over timing in and native in long seeing the result of my migration but that's the thing I guess I said from a historical example on this podcast here's our French militarism market militarism now to turn Trump administration makes the US uniquely unsafe for victims of domestic violence. Victims don't report this class 624 he said no violence victims Trump vilified Latin American criminal the nation's spirit deserved reports of isolated harassment no government traumatic would a president of policy to the redeemed and about himself previously million prosecutors drop any financial plans to this is recognized place abuse victims of the federal state against their president in the US.
What two cards did you get to on the advantage read?
I read the second and the third card, so that's the Gallatin card and the Quaist card.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Status of counterplan.
Conditional status quo is always a lot of
Okay. Why is protection of abused from their abusers a fantasy?
Our argument is that that is sort of a cover-up for the broader American project of political inclusion. So we make a couple sort of distinctions within that. First, our argument is that sort of you are treating these immigrants with the fantasy that they will be able to become part of the U.S. as sort of majoritarian class. That
Where? How do we do that?
Yeah, the point of the app is that once they come to the U.S., they are safe from domestic violence. We don't think that is true.
We say they're safe from a specific abuser. Where do we make the claim that they're completely safe from domestic violence in all instances?
I mean, I would just say it doesn't solve the app then. If they're like, we'll
Okay,
read more add on just
fine.
like the app, like the U.S. is
I
bad
have another
too.
question. The alternative: what do immigration restrictions look like in the world of the alternative?
Sorry, what?
What do immigration restrictions look like in the world of the
We don't think
alternative?
that they matter.
So they don't exist.
I mean, I don't think we fiat that they
Yeah,
don't
but
exist anymore.
In a
but
world
they don't
where the
matter.
alternative solves or something, what does immigration restrictions
We think
look
that
like?
like a mass movement of immigration would make those restrictions irrelevant because it would overwhelm.
Right, so like
border
the
security.
restrictions of like sexual abusers and abused are irrelevant in the world of the alternative.
Those are.
Like, is it open borders? Is what I'm asking. Is there any restrictions on immigration?
I don't know that will necessarily defend like open borders. Our argument is
What's
that
the
we are
restriction
sort
on immigration?
We don't fiat the USFG changes of policy. We do not think that those restrictions are enforced or effectively
What does the
post-policy.
Yeah, what does the alternative?
It would create a form of migrant politics, which would basically, like, the real implications of that would be like a movement, for example, that would just cross the like different borders, which allows for the overwhelming of
the abusers could cross the border.
abusers.
Wait,
that
wait,
happens
wait,
now.
It says
Like,
a mass migration escalates ethnic tension. Why is that a good idea in the context of the alternative?
what?
What? Say again?
You read a
Oh,
card.
again, we are not saying the alternative fiats away all restrictions on immigration to create a situation where the government is having open borders. The evidence I read on the
I don't think you
case
saw
So this
is
is mass migration leads to surging tribalism, and then you say that there's going to be a migrant
We don't
movement
think
in
the
which they
alt solves
cross
the
multiple
case
borders.
terms.
Yeah.
We're not going for the case term as a net benefit to the alternative.
I know, but that means there's a direct contradiction. If
I
you say
disagree.
that there's a good, and
I
you
disagree.
say that the alt is a good idea,
We
and
think
that
the
mass
alter-
migration is good, this is a direct
We think the
disadvantage
alternative.
to
We think the alternative probably resolves that because that is an argument about how sort of immigrants are treated. The critique is an argument about how immigrants are treated once they come to the U.S. and sort of this false promise that they will be accepted as another American.
I just have one more question. What GOP members don't like the plan and which do?
Our argument is that the sort of the Jeff Sessions wing of the party, the furthest right members of the GOP,
Alright.
will probably backlash against the now,
Okay.
whereas there are more moderate
Name me
Republicans.
one. Name me
Ted
two.
Cruz.
Ted Cruz backlashes who?
Yes, Ted Cruz is pretty messed up.
They're all.
Okay.
We would
Start
know.
with
Name it. Start it. What's the innocence complex and how did we have to make that?
Sure. The idea that the U.S. is like an innocent, benevolent nation that is free from like problems.
Okay. So stop prep 707. Yeah.
Is this called Octos?
Yeah.
What are you?
707.
Hold on. Did y'all get it?
Yeah,
yes.
I just did.
Okay.
Hometown. That's the hotel.
I just need to grab one thing. Wait, are you guys starting to grab? Oh, never
No,
mind.
no.
Sorry, I didn't know what you were doing. Okay. It'll be the advantage framing, the criminal justice, midterm, Canada counterplan, and the ILATE.
Can you give the order of the off case one more time, please?
Sure. T,
Mm-hmm.
criminal justice consent, midterm consent, Canada counterplan, HRK.
Thank you.
Okay,
Criminal justice people.
yeah. Okay, is everybody good?
Cool.
Section 3 on deportation, El Salvador, domestic violence victims, such rights to reject domestic violence victims from asylum, that home replication, domestic violence complaints solved by making gender protected asylum legal, with legal ground for judges to accept asylum claims for domestic violence victims, in order to target international presence or key. The U.S. finally now causation to allow use of close borders complaints solved by reinforcing commitment to gender protection and refugee convention. They say escalate tension. This is about mass migration, has nothing to do with the affirmative. It's also non-unique because the sort of native backgrounds exist in the status quo, and asylum protections are necessarily better for that group. They say Trump administration, I'm saying it's about protecting them from specific abusers in their home countries, which is uniquely a good thing. Even so, all of this is sort of xenophobic backlashes, but just papered over in Canada, and we've resolved it by some other forms of asylum protections, including access to language and to translators and lawyers. Framing. Violence against women outweighs any other impact. Women died for domestic violence for 11 years in the United Vietnam War. Body count, mass crime, death, probability, actions for YouTube claims. That's not trying to indicate that solving gender violence prerequisite very impacted version of energy. From these same words, only to take a picture will pop out, use to maintain a system of professional views, to acknowledge expectation, toxic, vaccinating, risk, your pulse there, and make your impact. attacks inevitable, only challenge masculine domination, social class conflict as, and low groups are util claims are all the same. Extinction doesn't come first. The Friedman evidence indicates a logic for corruption and preemption comes straight up between solutions for structural violence and violence and uncertainty is enemy rational decision making constantly puts gender violence on backward. The consequentialists are arguing don't matter. We are consequentialists. We just say that consequentialism must take into account probability and their extinction force logic doesn't make any sense. Bostrom would justify killing 200 million people to reduce the risk of extinction by 1%, which just makes no sense and is a justified genocide. T. We need a simultaneous guarantee justice under doctrine problems. If anything, there's only a time frame distinction. Time frame justice that constitutional mission, but yeah, you know, well, for permanent residents through the adjustment process are considered to have accomplished in mission to the U.S. is supported by the language of the adjustment provision and legal immigration includes adjustments that involve or like legal immigration on behalf of nonsense and granted legal immigration will ultimately be granted. This says before interpretation and predictable limits our interpretation is supported by federal codes. They said random also no governmental back in the topic paper included asylees. They would limit out one insert the topic paper here. B limits explosion is inevitable. You can't remove all the people that would have adjusted from the plan. It limits explosion is inevitable. You can just remove all the people that would have to adjust from any plan. C ground negative ground is based on whether immigrants have a specific kind of status generic ground checks in mind limit explosion. D over limiting consent. Their interpretation limits out the vast majority of soft life like TVs and UVs and refugees asylum create steel base and grounds that create literature. E education statics and I activates about surveillance or necessary key immigration schedule for reporting education without material impact of product gender-based violence. Default to reasonability continue interpretation costs of credit and incentivize and tries to introduce someone voting negative statement that are viewed as pedagogically valueless, especially when T debates don't spill over into all or nothing issue for the act criminal justice reform. Too many numbers. Their uniqueness evidence that there are four other bills that are taking priority. Congress passed against women act, conspiring, tax us spending, and the Farm Bill. They have no evidence that criminal justice is taking priority and not intrinsic. New Congress, likely after midterms, if there's no bipartisan support in the lame duck section, or if Republicans win midterms, they have no incentive to move during the lame duck, and no internal link. Their evidence about criminal justice reform being good. It's about extensive radical reform. The bipartisan bill won't do anything to have to do with the GOP is involved, and the assaults that this at our evidence indicates that increasing general human rights credibility is a result of the act because it's not included in the INA now, which violates the UN Refugee Convention. No link. GOP hates the plan. They'd have to win some that some of the GOP likes the plan and some don't. Spoiler alert, the GOP hates anything that gives out positive rights, and even if they win, some people do like the plan is a very small majority. And HR credit is uniquely decked under Trump criminal justice reform, one of the conflict perception, indefinite detention, close borders, and lack of a plan, and police brutality all that way. And HR credit doesn't help progress for it. And two, there's what evidence of wrong serving in the Iraq leaders that have more human if the U.S. committed more multilateral human rights commitments consequent and U.S. not American all the North while signaling weakening in theory of little import in practice midterms. First, Democrats win Neville already 85%. You can classify the sergeant to above because if Democrats win, they're going to pass criminal justice reform anyways. Become 10-25-18. Upside or believe the ties against President Party from 2018 might see the blue wave of some predicted recently mostly Democrats will just flip the 2016 Canadian win the House 85.9% for the Dems win in two terminally non-unique issues with the voter this year make a point to a group that will change their vote drum. And 10-22-18 leads some of the kind of congressional formal mostly voters show apparently nothing not break out on the Edward will be not and North Korea not to have changed how we're fighting to vote this year back in January Democrats and then they'll take people by 12 point now 13 point no link in two numbers. It's not about the plan. It's only about Trump. He's not about immigration. News evidence page 10-25-18. There's no lecture all about Trump right and the majority voters today that Trump said the best leader opposite of first border opposition to without limit of giving Democrats an edge in the official campaign and find sort of make sure they're off because the city president never involved in the campaign. No hard maturity is not going to be for Democrats and general in the congressional ballot market card at ballot. Fort Lake turned distance to Trump kills base turnout over 118 pretty distance and will work and we were specific to the mission of the decided by the world reality that one culture for 85 motivation that people jump shift and any party identification will suffer never will take it. This happens Democrats in 2010 when it came to Obamacare they stopped growing the market growth after growing 5 no link the plan only impacts roughly 2,000 people your April 1 left to be perceived. Too many numbers. Trump's family separation policy and the Mueller investigation will crowd it all out. No single issue voters even if immigration is important and the populism impact, their evidence concedes that 2020 is key, not the midterms, and Trump is a key global populist side has 2017. Many American big commentators imagine Trump will likely to create European populists who are lacking the weapon and allows the Trump to get that image makes the populist middle class attractive and credible in Europe. They don't pay attention to details when they focus on symbolic dimensions that will explain the populist will reach very high scores and not necessarily gaining county factor don't win in populists may be very unlimited there, in which historical government parties are seriously weak in the European. It shows that it's also an old traditional political party, market party candidate conflict. First, the phrase case case reduction forces producing frames and they will not even whine about this. They don't get the 95 shitty dislike claims by claiming the count claims solved 100% of the case and any versus this evidence voted this argument lacks merit. Two, permanent both have Canada and the U.S. as factual more believe it's possible for refugees during curb duplication through the counter plan and permanent counter plan. Four solvency deficits. First doesn't solve because of the verdict. They need to enter the U.S. or applying to the U.S. and sitting in detention centers. Now we see deportations are our whole country after they have no way to get to Canada. B, they don't solve international laws. Keep sending global presences. The South Pole and counter plan don't push other countries in the right direction. The South Pole still violates the 1951 refugee convention. C, won't know to apply to Canada. D, no transportation on the U.S. border. 5, international field ban is not predictable. there are 195 countries and entities exempt from premise of NGO, which was what is the education makes the data about U.S. leadership politics that harms of immigration policy. See, not legal. Not logical. No decision can be made by both the U.S. and Canada, and it's already hard to be at conditionality. In case 6, conditionality about constituency strategies to deter reading often eliminates most educational type-based contradictions. No 2NC counterclaim says move 2AC office excuse of what AR makes the late-breaking debates that are possible. Side note, Judge K excuse of 2AR more too much judge intervention. HRK frames the world about the terms that really after all the testimony anything else. Unpredictably shift from the debate with allows and then monopolize on weekends, content protection, discourage future reasons, lose, strategic consideration, and performative contradictions about they defend HR cripple simultaneously trying to encourage same logic through the canon of counterclaim. A links back to all their often B force to defend contradiction or position making negative and unfairly concede arguments for this double term. C. Bad up. CTO's loud and straight ethical frame to leave behind X group and they are values. They also teach to argue most for days opposed to how people prefer world. Yes, reject the team for the terms. Otherwise, teams have no competitive incentive to change disclosure theory, group shifts, about judge patterns, catalog change argumentation, and theories of gateway issue comes before anything else. No link. We don't say anything that we don't say that they integrate adequately. We say that they are protected from specific abuse. And it doesn't mean they're safe from all violence. They just aren't at risk from the same person abusing them. No tribalism dish add links back. They increase mass migration with sorts of ethnic tension, causes violence greater than the after. Permutation to both. Permutation to the after facilitates migrant movement. Permutation to the after we all can run unique and after impact. The first link. Although after regulations about immigration, abusers are allowed to come to the United States and track down their abusers. And process is embarrassing. What is the alternative do? They also are voting issue because they unpredictably shift the focus of the debate. Also, discrimination is acceptable, but there's a risk our discussion being the ways that immigrants are abused, slow abuse, stem from domestic violence being kept. The instance that is not us. We say that there's no problems around. We say that the U.S. can protect us for the instance of domestic violence at home. Not that the U.S. is perfect. And there is no link with no sense. No link. We say HR is good, not international law. And no link. Migrants are already here for the promise of rights. They are a pull factor rather than domestic violence is a push factor that forced immigrants here to is still a good idea. And yeah.
Good.
Actually, sorry. Yeah.
Midterms decide if they're not focused on immigration, what are they focused on?
We're not claiming that. Well, I don't know how that relates to midterms decide. We can make that.
You didn't make a claim that they don't care about immigration?
Wait, that the base, that who doesn't care about immigration?
Voters.
Who say? Oh, yeah, we're making claims that, for one, the Mueller investigation thumbs, and the family separation policy necessarily thumbs.
To, like, suburban voters, you're telling me the Mueller investigation, which has yet to produce any sort of public result, matters more than immigration procedures?
No, the public, for one, I think that's not true, because the Mueller investigation still shored up anti-Trump sentiment, and we say that base support is very important in that context. We'd also indicate that family separation should have thumped, and there are other voters who are interested in things like the economy.
Cool. The critique, what is a bright line for whether an alt is B?
Just have to explain the specific mechanism by which it happens. Cross-X was pretty clear.
So if
I mean, like, gut check, Cross-X was terrible on this. We don't know what the alternative is.
So if we explain the alt, does this argument go away?
No, because you need to explain the specific mechanism through which
what constitutes whether a specific mechanism
even if there's not a good bright line, it's pretty clear, and it's a gut check argument that you literally don't know what the alt does, and therefore neither do we.
You read offense against the alternative, that you're like, the alternative allows abusers to come to the U.S. What about the AF prevents them from doing that?
We'd say that they can't. Okay, so we'd say open borders is what you would necessarily have to advocate for in order for your alternative to work. That means people can come here. If they are stuck in their home country, they cannot get. It's much more difficult to come to the United States.
That's not my question, though. What about the affirmative prevents abusers from, like...
Oh, that's what I was just getting to, right? So abusers, for one, have much more difficulty getting to the United States if they have to apply for the visa differently.
Why can't they just come in on, like, a visitor visa and stay for, like, 2 months?
Okay, actually, we would indicate that this is not like a solvency take up to the AF or the alternative. It just
well, right, but if you're going to read it as offense against the alternative, I mean, does it not matter if the affirmative does the same thing?
We don't think that's true because we think the border being there is a much larger legal barrier to people coming to the United States in the first place, as opposed to an open borders, which allow people to literally migrate over and they would come and find the person. We would prevent that because it's much harder to get.
That's fine. Framework, should the AF have to defend anything other than the plain text?
Yeah, plain text and the result of the plan.
If the sort of method of the AF or the assumptions it makes were messed up, would that not be a reason to vote nay?
One, the same method you use in the 1 and C is forwarded, which means we at the very least get to sever those representations. We'd also indicate that you have to provide a reason why it was egregious or offensive why we said something, but we say that it's better to focus on like impacts in the plan.
Canada counterclaim, why does permutation do the counterclaim not sever like the United States federal government?
I don't know. You should probably still answer it though.
Okay.
What? Okay. That's fine.
8 minutes. So I put 538. I'm gonna run it for the rest.
Y'all seen any good movies lately?
I haven't been to the movies in a long time. How about yourself?
I saw The Conjuring 1 and 2
Oh, wow.
by myself. Pretty sad. But it was a good movie. Both of them.
Now, here's my shameless plug for A Star Is Born.
Oh my gosh.
I think Bradley Cooper sounds a lot like Vin Diesel, but like Lady Gaga, phenomenal.
What's the movie award? It's like Grammy or the
That's Oscars.
Oscars. She'll probably win one of those.
Oh, no. She was so good.
Thomas's birthday is tomorrow.
Aw.
Wait, me and Thomas have the same birthday?
Really?
October 28th.
That's sweet. Should let him know.
How old is he turning?
16.
I'm 2 years older than him. Older.
2 years away from being twins. Hey, Thomas.
You're such a baby.
I told him it was your birthday.
We have the same birthday, but 2 years apart.
Tomorrow.
Wait, David, I have a question. Is your shirt also Supreme?
No, but get this. We were gonna dress as each other for Halloween today, and he said my shirt was too ugly to wear. So
not.
this is a shirt I wear like every day. So
I couldn't.
it hurt
I
my
couldn't
feelings a
myself.
lot.
Please, Thomas.
Alright.
I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Alright.
I really flex, but okay.
It's the K, then the counter plan, then the CJR dishead, and then the advantage.
Can you do that again?
Yeah. Critique, Canada counter plan, criminal justice claim dishead, then your violence.
Is there going to be an overview if you go to overview?
There will be a short overview.
Separate page.
If you want.
How long is it?
Less than like
Give him
30
some back.
seconds.
I don't think you need a new
I
detail.
don't think you need either.
Okay.
Unless you were like framer at the top of the code.
One last time. Critique, Canada, CJR, the advantage.
Yep. Alright.
Okay.
Okay. The critique outweighs in turn the case all of U.S. immigration policy functions to American exceptionalism and imperialism. The U.S. utilized propaganda like the one it proposes that immigrants simultaneously is necessary to the stability of the U.S., but also the U.S. is necessary to save the immigrants from not exported abroad by the U.S. or some external conflict. The U.S. is integrating migrant bodies into a bureaucratic nightmare in which their identities become territory, thus nationalized Americanized. Your first priority in this debate is not the legitimacy of the international order of the U.S. economy, but instead the politics of the immigrant and the violence of U.S. immigration on the industrial complex that condemns people to now framework. The role of the ballot is to decide the most ethical action for immigrants. We win for framework that means your first priority is to forward the concerns and prevent violence to immigrants before you look at the scenarios in the 1AC. That's the best interpretation. First is the ethical subject formation. This is how we orient ourselves in our responses to systems like capitalism. The only portable value to debate, and as a prerequisite to social change outside of this space. Not all knowledge is created equally. Second is policy formation. This is that it's impossible to be effective policymakers without understanding different micro and macro political responses to systems of power. Third is the power. This is that debate spaces produce social media. The 1AC is a mechanism of capture through visibility, so that they are produced as passive objects and political and economic power in relation to precarious legal identity. The visa symbol and the gift of protection, which is always revocable. That's Tianos et al. in 08. Social political thought you can consider art of this give the individual decision to organize form of conflict, the regime of control, focus to the design, push more immobility, this one body, the independence, and the production, the people become subject to sovereign power, the sovereignty, power, mobilizing representation, the conflict, to contain social conflict, representation, nothing more than a means to prevent social conflict, invisible against part, the unavailable production, the subject is constituted labor, the production is subject to one on the labor body, the subject is constituted to this compulsory heterosexual matrix, the heteronormative subject is the relationship between people and polities constitute the majoritarian subject, these three levels, in the subject of power. Now, they say that the fairness debate, first is the only impact is to fairness is the game, which isn't good absent good ethics. Second, they picked the F and had infinite prep time. Not our fault, they weren't ready. Third, fairness lost at a level, better team speed, judging different school sizes and financial resources. Fourth, we don't make debate impossible. Worse teams with less experience and less resources have beaten better teams. So shape out these skills impact. Our skills are better if we win the thesis of the critique. That means that current immigration education is bad, and means only our education can create ethical change, and there's zero correlation between policy activism and government change. Skills, page 14. The preferences of average Americans have statistically non-significant impact on public policy. The most influential business oriented negative efforts in citizen, which the preference of academic leads not far more independent impact. The probability of policy change the 0.3 or the majority, large majority average citizens figure out proposed change. Now, the perf kind debate, all of the offense which I'll read in this on conditionality, which I'll read in a second, applies here, but there's no unique offense because they still get to read all their state good arguments about why and arguments about why rights are good, which is what the 2AC actually was. Third, we get to test the F as the negative. We should be able to have different competing worlds, even if they're contradictory, because it allows for negative flexibility, which will be also on conditionality. Finally, we weren't a perf kind. You could still answer our arguments by saying that rights and the state were good. Now, additionally, reject the argument not the team, or reject the ethics of the alternative. Anything else is this is just a reason why the alternative is plus action. They said that we linked our own offense, because that's not true, because we have links to the specific policy action and why immigration to the U.S. would be bad. Second, we don't make them